Hello everyone, and welcome to Hutan Pantai, where the harmony of the East Asian countryside meets the vibrancy of modern cities. Fantastic! It's good to be here, and this is our first flavour of an Asian map in Farming Simulator, so it's going to be exciting to do a little playthrough of the starting new farmer of this map. Now, Grandfather Walter is here. We obviously saw him in Riverbend Springs, but we will say hello to him.
Paint me green and call me a cucumber, if it isn't you.
There we go. We've said hello to him, but we do need to go. We've got a busy day ahead, and we're not doing the tour today. And I am actually exploring some of the third person. Now, there is a separate fellow over here who we are going to say hello to.
Look who we have here. Last time I saw you, you were playing in Cowdung. Remember me? I'm Ben. Some call me by my nickname, Helper B.
Very funny, Ben. Well, it looks like we can interact with Ben and Grandpa Walter if we need to. But, yeah, we can leave the conversation and have a little look around the farm. We have quite a small setup here, a farmhouse like no other I've seen before. There is a silo across the road, and we have a few bits of starting equipment here. The same Massey Ferguson harvester, the 8570 that we had in Riverbend Springs. And we have a lovely little tuk-tuk here, doing a very long jump there. This is the APE 50, and I look forward to jetting around in that later on. Next, we have the Lizard Dragon, which is, I think, based on an Isuzu type truck, but I'm guessing the branding is not in Farm Sim, unless I'm mistaken. Right, let's head up the ramp here, where we come round to the rear of the farm, and we have a bit of a yard area, a few sheds and some buildings. Some more equipment, and to the left is going to be our rice farming equipment. This is a planter, the Iseki PRG-8D, and that is going to be for the sole purpose of planting rice, not long grain rice, but the short grain rice. And then this is the harvester, the Iseki HJ6130, which is also the short grain rice harvester. There we go. Fantastic. We are going to be getting into that stuff later. I think this is the same Great Plains planter, yet the solid stand 1500, which we used in Riverbend Springs. The same cultivator, John Deere 980. And this looks to be the Agco 8510 White Edition. And yes, that is going to be exciting to use. Now, before I jump in the tractor, because we need to go to the store, we have got some greenhouses around here. One greenhouse which is for the purpose of growing rice saplings, and we have another greenhouse which is that dark shed ahead of me with the fans, which is for wild mushrooms. Well, not wild mushrooms, but greenhoused mushrooms, and those greenhouses need water, so that's going to be my first job. But before we do, let's take a quick look at the farm on the map. So this is the farmland on the map. We own fields 27, 28, 30 and 31, which is a good starting point. Only 2 of the 4 fields have crop in, and they have the normal rice rather than the long grain rice, indicated by this tab here. And luckily for us, the 2 rice fields are ready to harvest, but the other 2 fields are in a cultivated and a ploughed state. So we'll see what we can do with those, but probably not much today. And one of the main purposes for today is I would like to experience the rice harvesting and also the preparation and planting. But let's get those greenhouses set up first of all. Oh yes, I forgot that I have my collector's edition key that I needed to turn. But we'll hop in here, because one piece of equipment we are missing is a water tank. So I'm going to head over to the store, grab one of those and come back. And I gotta say, this looks to be a very hilly and sprawling map. It will be interesting to see the terrain, and we can see the lovely mist developing here as we drive through it. Now, I still am experiencing some flickering of my game. It appears to be a general issue that's been reported, so apologies for that. But we will crack on and do our best to jet around Hutan Pantai. Now, I think this is the main road that takes me into town, and wow, it looks to be a bustling harbourside town. Look at this street. It is absolutely bustling with life, shops, lights, everything you'd expect to see in a main Asian city. Absolutely lovely to see the contrast between this and some of the other areas and environments we get to explore in Farm Sim. It's typically European or American, so this is a welcomed change. Indicator on, and it's a right turn here, and I've just noticed the train passing overhead. That is nice to see. Hopefully we can get up closer to that later. And the store is just down the back of the road here. We have made it, and this appears to be the rail yard, which kind of makes sense. Any equipment that we purchased would be shipped here, that's for certain. Right, where do we access the store? Oh dear, it appears I've gone to a warehouse instead of the store. Wait right there and we'll be at the store in no time. Here we go. This looks more like it. Right, we need our water tank. So, store page, and we're going to go to barrels under animals, as that is a more cost-effective way to get some water transportation. I think we are just going to go with the cheapest, the Abbey 550 for 5,850. Now, one thing I have not explored is the actual preview view in the store. And just like usual, we can scroll around the piece of equipment and see what it looks like before we purchase. Not much to customize here, but you can change the rim color, and I'm sure there's all sorts of other customizable features for other machines and vehicles. Let's buy this. There it is, only a small tanker, but I've come in the tractor because I don't think the little tuk-tuk has a hitch on the back. I might be mistaken. And the truck, the Lizard Dragon, I think it is, does not have a rear hitch, so we're in the tractor. Right, let's head back and we can put some water in our greenhouses to get the saplings and the mushrooms underway. Right, turn back towards the farm. I can see the farm just on the crest of the hill there through the mist. I am really liking the misting and lighting effects in FS25. Made it back safe and sound, and in order to get water in here we are going to have to purchase a water butt. So let's go to the construction view and get one placed. There we go, nice overview of our farm, and we can zoom in to see our tractor. Now the water tanks are under containers, and if we scroll to the bottom here we can see the water tank. There's all sorts of other silos and different tanks for storing different things, but we only need water for now. Now this is going to charge us when we do take some water out of it, but 3,000 to place it. So it should be as simple as driving up to it and pressing the fill key. The fill key is R on PC. There we go, water's going in. That is topped up. Let's drive round to our first greenhouse for the rice saplings, and we can get some water deposited off. Try not to smash into it. There we go. You can now press the unload key, which is I on PC, and it looks like saplings have jumped into life already. Right, let's hop out the tractor real quick, and I can't remember, I think I've actually blocked the door. Well, let's squeeze through here. There we go, and I'll just go into first person view. We can go up to the spanner. Here we go. So this is our greenhouse for rice saplings, and we have topped it up with the maximum amount of water, which is really handy. and it has automatically started. So we can deactivate it, but it is up and running. It's going to do 48 cycles per month, so that's a day in this case. It's going to cost us 2 units of currency per day, and it's going to use 3 units of water to make 1 unit of rice saplings. Fantastic. Well, we are going to need this later if we want to plant rice saplings. Back to the water tank to fill up once again. And pull up close so we can unload the water. Now, entrance to this is on this door, and if we open up we can see the spanner. There we go, so we've half filled with water. We can top it up if we need to. And this has got 2 recipes, one for enoki, which uses 1 unit of water to make 5 enoki. That's quite efficient. Can do 408 cycles per month and cost us 2 units of currency. The next is oyster mushrooms, which look to be bigger in terms of the iconography we've got here. And that is going to do 336 cycles, cost the same, 2 units of currency, and it's slightly less efficient, making 3 mushrooms out of 1 unit of water. So there we go. And we are storing these, so anything we make will be stored, but as per usual, you can change the output to sell, distribute, or store. So that's pretty handy. Distributing will automatically send it to other productions that you have requiring mushrooms or whatever item it is you are making. Close the greenhouse back up, keep those mushrooms nice and humid in there. And I guess that's what these big industrial heaters are for, to make the humidity. Right, we can do away with the water tank. We are done with that for now. And next it's going to be on to the rice harvesting, and it's going to be the field that's next to our rice sapling greenhouse. Just drop the trailer off there, and we can also park up the tractor here. It'll take me a little while to get used to switching the collector's edition key off. Right, we need the rice harvester for the short grain rice, and I think it's called short grain rice. It's just declared as rice and then long grain rice in the game. Here we go. This is the harvester we need. So let's jump in this. The Seco HJ6130. We'll fire it up. Now this looks very different on the inside. It's all joysticks and different buttons and controls. But yeah, we'll push the lever forward and start driving out of here. And this is a tracked vehicle, so this is going to be interesting. Can turn on a dime and spin all the way around, so very maneuverable indeed. And the reason it's got tracks is so it can go into the trenched fields for the rice farming. Now I want to make sure I got the pipe on the right side. Okay, the pipe does open to the right, that is pretty handy. So we will want to start in this position, I believe. There we go. We'll just set that there for the time being, because we need to go and get the truck so we can unload to it. So let's dash over there. Hello, Walter. He does seem to ominously watch us while we work. Into the lizard dragon. And we'll go place this somewhere near the field so we can easily deposit into it. And if we fill it up, we've got the silo just across the road here to deposit the rice into. Right, we can park it here. I think that is going to be okay. Now it's interesting because I've never harvested rice before, so I'm guessing we probably want to stick to rows, similar to like root crop harvesting, or stick to the line rather. So we're not going to have much opportunity to clear a headland like we normally do with grain crops. But because the harvester is so maneuverable, that doesn't really matter so much. So let's hop back in here and see how we get this started. Hopefully it's just as easy as turning on, and yes, we can lower it and raise it. Fantastic. Right, so let's get in position and start harvesting some rice. Be interesting to see how much capacity this takes. There we go. We are harvesting rice for the first time. It's got quite a good working speed actually, 8 kilometers per hour. Probably need to change that to miles per hour because that's what I'm used to. But here we go. The rice is being harvested and we're filling up fairly okay. Let's turn around for another row. Switch to the other side so we can see the edge nicely. Wow, this is very, very manoeuvrable. I have to be quite delicate with my pedals and wheel. But there we go. Trying to line up as best we can. So, I'm going to see to the rest of this harvest. And once we've filled up the truck, we can get that deposited in the silo. Cool, what is interesting is you can see the rice being ferried all the way through the conveyors of the harvester. That is very cool. I wonder if we can see what happens at the back if we turn around. I don't know where it ends up as such because it's not got an open tank. It seems to be contained, and I guess that makes sense because rice would probably fly about if it was not having a cover on the hopper. There we go. Is there anything we can see at the rear? Don't think so. I need to make sure I'm driving correctly. Ah, it's dropping off the remnants of the rice plant stalks and what is chopped off out the back. There we go. Let's crack on with the rest of this harvest and see you when we're done. %100%. That is how close we came to harvesting the whole field in one tank. Just a one slither left of, I think it's 2 rows or 2 rows of rice crop there. And that was really fun. A lot easier than I thought it was going to be. The maneuverability of the harvester does make it very nice to turn at the end of each row. And despite not starting with a headland, I did actually trim a headland into each end after we were going. Oh, I am not close enough there. It's always quite hard to see. And there we go, depositing the rice in. But yes, we ended up trimming a headland on each side just to make turning a little bit easier, because there is a ramp at the end of, or at the edge of each side of the field. So to avoid having to ramp up and down each time, the headland was quite important. There we go, fold the pipe back in, and it looks like I've barely scratched the surface of filling the truck there, which kind of goes to show that although rice versus long grain rice is meant to be a higher yielding crop, or so the help guide tells me, in actual fact rice yielding is quite low, I guess, to have only filled the truck with this size of field to the amount that we have. And I think it was only in the 1,000-odd litre capacity. So I think it gives some perspective, really, that rice farming in real life, if the scales are equal in this game versus real life, that you have to have a lot of land and a lot of rice fields to make the quantity of rice that you need. But let us empty the last remnants in and we can actually see what metric we have harvested from that field. Let's line up again. So we have got 2,041 litres, 26%. So maybe that's not as bad as I was thinking. I was maybe doing a little bit of a discredit there, but yeah, 2,000 litres from that size of field is not too shabby at all. Right, let's drive this to the silo then. Unless there's any productions that we have at our disposal that can utilise rice, but I don't think there are. Nip in ahead of that car and get this dropped off. And whilst we do, I will explore to see if there are any rice productions we can access on this map. So there are some that are available, but we do not own them, and I'm still yet to work out whether we need to own them for us to be able to utilise them. Maybe we can give that a test. But in terms of productions that utilise rice, the canning factory can make rice bags from long grain rice or normal rice, and then a different type of rice bag for normal rice and long grain rice again. So yes, some different recipes there for rice and long grain rice. The grain mill can make flour from rice, rice flour, again for long grain and normal rice. Now interestingly, the oil mill, we can make rice oil from long grain rice and normal rice. Did not know that was a thing, so that is interesting. And that looks to be it in terms of productions that can utilise rice. So maybe we can take our rice to one of these factories. Right, I'm doing it. I'm taking our 2,000 litres of rice to the canning factory. And I've tagged it on the map so we can see where it is. It is somewhere in the yonder. So let's head over there, drop our rice off. And I know it's only a small quantity, but it'd be interesting to see what a rice bag looks like. I think I've just completely entered this factory in the wrong place, driving over the curb, but never mind. And I think I was also speeding through the town there, so hopefully the police do not catch me. But here we go. Now I wonder, I think this is probably going to sell it if we don't own it, so let's just go see if there is a tab to purchase this factory. Round the front here is the spanner, and yes, we can buy the canning factory for 330,000. Now I am worried that if we deposit this rice, it is just going to sell it, and I've not really checked where the sell price is. But for the interest of testing whether we can actually make productions without owning the factory, that would be interesting. Right, let's deposit that in, and if we get money coming in, that means we are selling. Yep, we are selling. 7,000 made from that rice. That seems pretty good. So yeah, that is pretty much it in conclusion. Unfortunately, there is still the concept of having to own a production in order to utilise the output. It would be nice if they changed that, because the expense of buying a production is very high, and that's the only opportunity you have to make some of these products. So if you want to play the game properly, you have to earn a lot of money to be able to buy these factories or take out rather large loans. Right, we'll head on back, but it would be nice in the future if there was a feature where you could utilise the factory without owning it, potentially for a larger fee, and get the benefits of some of the output products. Back up towards the farm, and I gotta say, this truck is very pacey and very nippy. I see that smaller trucks are better accustomed to the tighter roads and the hills and sharp turns that you have to maneuver around. So yeah, it's not about big articulated lorries, it's more about smaller and nippier. Alright, we can park up here, and then we need to go grab the harvester. Now interestingly, this does say Japan 6130 on the side. And having visited Japan, I can definitely see some of the flavours of the culture, such as the city with all the lights, and then the road and the landscape very much does to fit Japan, but then I guess there are quite a lot of East Asian countries that fit that description. There we go, we can turn this off after we have parked it and hop out. So naturally that now has the harvested state on the growth section. It has the mulched section in terms of soil composition. And it also looks like it has the primary level of fertilization, and that's probably the manner in which it is harvested and chops the remnants off and leaves it on the field. So it's interesting to see the harvested texture here, and we can see that it is 50% fertilized. But yes, there's all these little clumps of where the rice was planted and grew up. I guess you would call that the rice shoots. And then there is this scrappage which has come out the back of the harvester. Now, one would assume that you need to cultivate this before you can replant it, as the rice planter is not going to be a direct planter, and after cultivating we probably need to flood it. Probably should check the help menu. Yeah, so if we consult the help menu for rice, we can see that rice is sown in spring on the rice field that has already been flooded. This type of rice grows faster than the dry planted rice and also produces a much higher yield. To plant rice, you need a special Ezeki seeder. With this variety, the rice field has to be flooded when you plant the green rice sprouts. When growing rice, it is important to note that the field may only remain flooded for a certain period of time. If the water remains in the field for too long, a number of rice plants will die. Keep the field flooded after planting for 2 more months before it has to be dry for the 3rd growing stage. As soon as the rice can be harvested, you will need the Ezeki rice harvester. The rice can then be sold for a profit or stored in a silo. So it's not telling us, but one would assume that we need to cultivate that field before we can then use the rice planter. Or cultivate it before we can then flood it and then use the rice planter, because you can't cultivate it once it is flooded. So let's get the cultivator attached. We'll get that field turned over, and it's not telling us that it needs ploughing, so I'm assuming that it just needs cultivating. But let's get in here and we can drop the cultivator to get that churned up. Let's turn in here. Obviously a bit of a dip to deal with, but that is the nature of the rice fields. You can see the deformation slightly in the land there. Let's line up and we can get this field cultivated. There we go, that is the field cultivated, and it's very interesting because you need to navigate around the water infrastructure that surrounds the field, such as the pump on the side of the field, and I did almost drive over a rock and down a small cliff there, but we have managed to cultivate it. I think potentially a smaller cultivator, smaller tractor would be better for a field of that size, but we are working with what we have got. And I am certainly assuming that we are supposed to cultivate the rice field before we plant. That seems to make the most sense. I'm not sure if we need to prepare the seed bed in any other way. The guide is certainly not telling me that. I will see if there's reference to it anywhere else. Now, it doesn't reference it anywhere else, but consulting the map again, since cultivating, it has changed the growth stage to seedbed, so I think that is going to be good for us to plant the rice. And the soil composition is mulched from where we harvested. It's got the primary level of fertilizer you can see in the gaps, but it is not showing anything for watered, so I imagine that will show watered once we have flooded the field. Right, I think it is time to flood the field, but before I do, I should state that rice fields are different to normal fields which you can create with a plough in the game. Now, how rice fields differ is that they need to be constructed on the construction menu, and under the productions tab and the cultivation section, here you can create rice fields, like you have to do for grapevines and olive groves, but it is slightly different because you have to select an area. Now, I'm just seeing if I can create a very small rice field to demonstrate how it works. You draw a square and click on each of the corners and then make sure it makes a unified field, which it has done. It's a little bit difficult to see here. And then you create the field by right-clicking for PC, and there we go. That is your rice field created. It has to do some leveling, but there we go. That is it created. Perhaps we can test interacting with this to flood it. This is saying it's field number 1, because I guess we created it. 0.02 hectares, because it's so small, and crop type is not included. Let's flood it. The water pump is pumping away. Looks like it's going to take some time. And whilst it's churning away, it seems like we can press R again, and we can see that the water level is at 2%. Wow. If it's going to take a long time to fill this small space, we better get started with flooding this field over here. So let's get that kicked off. There we go, that is flooding. And what is nice is you can see the water already in some of our tread marks, which is all part of the new land deformation in FS25. So that is really cool to see, and lots of nice ripple effects. We will take a little wade through the water once it is filled up to see, but you might notice that it sounds like I am splodging around now rather than stepping, because it is a wet field, and we can hear the change in footstep sound because we are not walking in sodden ground. Now, whilst that floods, I should probably say that I have turned seasons off so we can have a go at planting this. You would normally need to plant rice in the springtime. Oh, I can see the field is looking like it's flooding, and it's nice to see that the water level is so changeable based on the rate that it is flooded. Now, I couldn't resist, so I've hopped in the tractor to come and test out what it's like driving in the ground when it is sodden. There we go, we can really see the water splashing up. The wheels and tyres have instantly gone very glossy and shiny because of the wet. And look at the deformation. We can see the water is instantly filled where we have deformed it, and there's a clear distinction between the front wheels and the rear wheels where we drive over. Wow, this is pretty cool. Lots of splashing and rippling, which is excellent, and I bet if we were pulling something the traction would differ quite a bit. Let's climb out of here now. Yeah, I can see the water spitting out from behind the tyres, and there we go. It really has had an effect and an impression on the tyre, which will probably dry now that we are back on the dry grass. There we go, you can see the water shimmering. I don't want to drive in this too much because that is going to be our nice rice field. Wow, that really is flooding now, and we'll check the percentage it is up to, 24%. Right, whilst that is filling, I think we will go and take the opportunity to gather some rice saplings, which we'll need for the planter, as unfortunately our greenhouse is not going to have grown them too fast. We only have 8 litres, so yeah, we'll jump in the truck, go and gather some rice saplings. I'll just fill the truck because I don't know how much I need to plant that field. It's 0.24 hectares, field number 30, and there is our rice planter ready and waiting. So back in the truck, here it is. Walk straight past it. Back at the dealership, and I will need to configure the truck into a flatbed. And for the extension, I think what we'll do is we'll go to the bale trailer. It's not going to cost us any money, so that's interesting. The only thing that costs us money is the trailer hitch, but that might be useful. Right, to get the rice, we can go under the packs section of the store to easily find what we need. Category rice, and here are rice saplings. Here we go. Let's get a good amount selected. 8 is the maximum. I think we will just get 8 because Just in case, that might even be too few, we don't know. Right, I've had to lease a forklift to get these lifted up. Wish me luck. There we go, a bit of a sloppy job at the end there to get it in position, but we can turn that off and maybe these will just have a little wiggle in transit and go neatly on the flatbed. We better get these strapped up because we do not want them going anywhere. Right, back in the truck and let's get these saplings back. I could only load 6. Made it back to the farm, and I think we'll park this up somewhere near the field so we can easily access them. Probably in front of the greenhouse where the other saplings will appear is a good bet. Alright, there we go. We can park up here and unstrap them. And there we go, the field has finished flooding. Let's take a little gander in here because we'll see that we have ripples and splashing. Yes, fantastic. Look at that wave line, the bow line that is going to all corners and rippling across the field and then slowly dissipating as it gets further away and it loses energy. That is really cool to see. We've not seen water physics and mechanics like this in Farm Sim, so brilliant to see. But I've got wet feet now, so better get in the rice planter and dry them up. And I think another point worth making is that the running in third person is a lot better than it was in FS22. It looked slightly awkward in how the character was moving, but this looks a lot more natural. Right. Turn the planter on, the Iseki, and if we just take a quick look in cab view, there we go. Just a very simple wheel and the ability to drive. And it looks like it's got some racking to the left and right, which is interesting. Oh, okay, one thing I did not comprehend is that it can take solid fertilizer as well. That is easily solved. Don't want to go back to the shop, so let's place another silo. Right, here we go. It's rather large, but the Meridian stainless steel fertilizer tank, which we can place there and come and fill from. There we go, so we can drive up to the fertilizer tank. I will need to just get out. Oh, it has opened the panels in preparation. But we will need to purchase solid fertilizer. Don't need that much because that is very expensive, but we'll do 10,000 litres. There we go. Fantastic. And if we hop back in, we should just be able to fill up with solid fertilizer. And that goes in these troughs here, which we can now close up again. So we can come and top up from there if we really need to. Let's grab the saplings. And the wheels of this planter are a very interesting thing. They are metal, I believe. Let's get out and just take a quick look at them because it is hard to see when you are driving. Yeah, these look to be metal wheels that are purposely designed to drive in the water. Right, let's see if we can nab some saplings. There we go, we are filling up from the closest on the left pallet. And it is racking it into the planter. Fantastic. Right, we will get on with the planting. I hope this is going to work as I expect it to. And just a reminder, I have turned off seasons, so we are able to plant within this month of August. But normally you would have to wait until spring. Right, so I think we need to unfold the planter and then we switch it on. And I imagine there is a section where we can lower. So let's head on in and lower. And there we go. We are planting rice. Fantastic. This is so interesting. Unlike any job I've ever done in Farm Sim before. Planting into the sodden field that is completely flooded. But there we go. We'll see how quickly we discharge the rice and the solid fertilizer and if we need to top up. I wonder how it's best to play it on these edges of the field where it's not a straight line. maybe doing a headland at the end once we've planted the rows is the best bet. But here we go. We are rice planting, and it is super exciting to see. So let's lower away and get this rice field all planted. And there we go. That is the field planted with rice. Now, as you can see, there's a couple of gaps, so I definitely need some practice. And I was getting the "you can't plant in a unwatered patch" warning message quite frequently. So yeah, you definitely do need to lift the planter up on the edge of the field so you don't get that message. And my best advice would probably be to concentrate on the rows first and then tidy up the headland and the area around the water pump at the end. There we go. We can shut her down because we have done the planting now. There we go. That is our rice planted, and I don't think there's anything we need to do to this field apart from pump out the water in 2 months' time as it's suggested. Now, if we go to the map again and look at soil composition, we can see if we untab mulched and fertilized, we can see watered because the field is watered. And it's interesting because the color is very similar to needs rolling, so that could be quite confusing. But yep, it is only relevant to rice fields, and I guess there's no rolling involved with the rice fields and the planting of rice. But if we toggle on fertilized again, we can also see that we have applied the secondary level of fertilizer. So that is very important. To make sure you've got the maximum level of fertilization, you need to fertilize the field before you flood it and then plant it, because the secondary level of fertilization is applied by the planter. And if you don't fertilize before you flood, you're only going to have the primary level of fertilization. And I don't think you can come and spray it or spread later on. And there we go. This has been my first Let's Play or Let's Try of Hutan Pantai. It has been really good, exploring parts of the map, the starting farm, then getting the greenhouses up and running, harvesting the rice that was already ready, and then preparing the field, flooding the field, and then planting rice. Really good parts of FS25 that have come in new this time around. The good news is Nordic Farming and I will be running a multiplayer series on Hutan Pantai, so stick around if you want to watch that. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. But that is it for today, so hope to catch you in the next one. Cheers all, bye bye.